Okie Show. And welcome to the podcast that explores the heartland's entertainment industries. I'm Brian.
I'm Kelly.
They sure are.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Nick. I'm Nick. Hi, everybody. I thought I was just here to confirm. It is Brian and Kelly.
Welcome back, everybody. It's been a while since we've actually gotten to record. We've been all so darn busy. I'm actually trying a new background today.
I see that.
Many with different backgrounds, so I'm in my living room now.
Don't love change, so
yeah, I know it's freaking everybody out.
It really is. It really is. It's like I kind of liked the, like the hermit nature of your office. Of like you could kind of even though you can only see the back wall, you could just tell it's like, yeah, he's just like in the back of the house somewhere.
He's just huddled in a closet, basically.
Yeah, making his weird noises.
The reason I'm not shooting in my office right now is because I just got back from a job, and so like my equipment, it's just a mess in there. And so I'm already kind of a bunker person, but when you see my office right now, I really look like a bunker person.
Just came with all the stuff and said, "That's it."
Yeah.
Threw it off his back.
I went with the, I don't have a bookshelf that's just full of books that I definitely have not read, like so many people. So this is the best that I've got. This is my intellectual background.
It does. It gives you an air of classiness.
Yes, thank you. I'll have you know that I built these shelves. I stained them.
Speaking of being a bunker person, Brian built these shelves for himself in his bunker house that he'll never leave. Have you ordered? I keep getting ads on my Instagram for the 3-month supply of food kits, survivalist kits. I keep getting tons of those, and it makes me think I must be on some sort of algorithm that makes people think I'm a bunker person. But I'm also kind of intrigued. I'm not going to lie.
You gotta stop going around saying like, I'm so hungry I could eat 3 months of food at one time.
I want 3 months of dried and frozen nutrient dense powder, please.
I want those, but then I have a supplier for military MREs, those meal ready to eats, which is funny because I already have my supply of food, which as a civilian I'm technically not supposed to have those. But like I grew up, my dad was military, so like we grew up, we would eat MREs for whenever we were camping and stuff, and like everything. There's so much in these one little MRE things, and you can recycle stuff, and they're pretty awesome.
So recently, Oklahoma, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but Oklahoma has had like a huge surge of fall armyworms, like tons of fall armyworms in certain areas or like everywhere. And I had people asking me what they were since my dad knows bugs. And funny enough, like I have eaten a large amount of bugs in my life. So foraging for insects, I have all the bug knowledge. You've got those meals. We would have a very nutrient dense, protein filled like thing. Cause I told my friend, I was like, hey, you can make wine from fall armyworms. Did you know that? You can make fall armyworm wine. You can cook cornmeal worms. You can eat crickets. You can eat ants. You can do all that stuff. So I feel like what can you add to this? Because
I'll gather the firewood.
So he's
gonna be the one that disappears into the woods getting the firewood.
I'll be the one that's like, I don't think there's any threat out in the yonder wilderness. I'm gonna go by myself, naked and afraid. Here we go.
That's not bear scat over there. That's just a large plop of human scat.
Yeah,
it's like that's stick and not stick.
Yeah, so I've been watching Alone, which makes me wish that we could be on that show, which even knowing myself, even though I am kind of a bunker person, I would not last more than like 2 days on that show. There's no way.
It would be fun to see the three of us though, because like I said, I have no survival skills, but I'm very stubborn. So like it would be like you guys have like constructed your shelter and you're like, okay, I'm kind of making it, my stuff's wet, and like I'm generally kind of cold, and I'd just be like covered with leaves.
But you're just not giving up. But that's what you could add to us. You would make us power through because I'm not stubborn. I'm so lazy, and I would be so just uncomfortable that I would not want to continue on. So you'd have to like push us through. I think my whole goal would be to find and make cheese, because I don't think I could survive without cheese. So I like on a show like that would be my main focus is like water and cheese.
That'd be great. Like, because everyone else gets off and they're like, okay, where's the water source, or where's like the,
and I've just made myself
Cheese.
Kelly's just she's making cheese over here. Like, I know that I could build a shelter. I know I could easily start a fire. And I know that if I had time, I could hunt and fish.
I could fish.
But it's the foraging and all that I would be really having a hard time.
Oh, I can forage like I'll get out. I'll stick my hand into anything. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Again, I will eat something poisonous and die, but
because of my stubbornness.
But my stubbornness.
Yeah. Like I'm watching these people on this show, like eating freaking moss off the ground and like, you know, like this guy, I just watched an episode with this guy. He's killed a muskox. And he's running out of food, even though he's got a freaking musk ox, which is like a smelling buffalo. And so he literally he salvaged the musk ox's stomach, and he eats the contents of the ox's stomach.
So he's like he's doing the thing like the regurgitated food, like he's letting it's like a baby bird. He's letting the ox digest it and then digging in.
Like he's just eating the contents from this old stomach sack. And like as soon as I watched that, I'm like, I mean, if the world explodes, this guy's gonna be the last man standing. This guy's like a human cockroach. You can't kill him.
Since he took out the stomach, I wonder if he can do the Han Solo, Luke Skywalker thing of just like opening up the ox and like, this is where I live now.
I live in here. He's made his water satchel from the bladder. Like he's gotten, you know, all the intestines and woven them together into string.
That is just a weird thought process of like, oh, I have this dead animal here. I'll eat the dead animals inside it.
Yeah, that guy's a serial killer for sure.
Yeah.
That's why he hangs out in the Arctic.
That is, yeah.
He's actually trying to run away from the law.
Yeah.
Just happened to end up on a reality show.
Kelly, what bug tastes the best?
What bug tastes the best? I mean, it depends if you're going sweet or savory. Because I mean, I like personally chocolate covered like crickets and chocolate covered grasshoppers are not bad at all. I think they're pretty good. Yeah. And also you can do certain kinds of ants that have like they're kind of bitter. And so with chocolate, like chocolate dipped ants, those are pretty good too, but they're kind of like pop rocks, like with the bitterness and the chocolate sometimes in your mouth.
They make popping noises?
No, well, crunching little.
Oh, okay. I thought you like put them in your mouth. It's like.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I mean, I like cornmeal worms are actually pretty good when you fry them up with some chili peppers and something like that. But
you're still researching Oklahoma news.
Yeah.
Sorry, what's going?
A lot.
Ohio's not doing it.
Ohio insects are just boring. Okay, like Ohio insects. Where are you? Oklahoma has had like, you know, just they get infestations of different bugs that I like to know about. And so far here, I've heard about the mayflies. I've yet to see the mayflies.
Well, they have not appeared. F for the mayflies, Ohio.
Yeah. No, I think I actually just missed them. I think that I was actually in Oklahoma when the mayflies came, but whatever.
You know what,
I mean, we missed the 7-year cicadas. I'm just disappointed in Oklahoma or in Ohio's entomology area. Oh, I have such a good story though. And this is totally side note, but I mean, we're going to go with it anyway. Oliver got stung by 10 yellow jackets 2 days ago.
Oh God. I love that you got excited to tell this story.
No,
I got the best thing ever. So Oliver got ambushed by a hive of yellow jackets.
Yes. So like first of all, I hope he forgives me if he ever hears the joy I'm taking in the stories that he's creating for me. But that's the whole reason you have kids. Like, what's the point of having kids if you don't get to tell the stories about them?
We love you. It's funny when you get hurt.
Yes, but he's okay. So it turned out all right. But so he was, he was in so much standing what's happening to him. And he was very upset with what was happening to him. So I showed him a bunch of YouTube videos of all these, like this guy that stings himself with different venomous, like, and poisonous insects to show what happens. And this is so speaking of naturists and foraging, I mean, that's good to know what insects will kill you and what won't.
Yeah.
But also it's hilarious because he writhes miserably on the ground a lot and screams.
It's like a pattern with you, Kelly, of a lot of laughter after pain.
And so Oliver and I watched it and he explains like, okay, this is what anaphylaxis is. This is what's happening to me. This is blah, blah, blah. And then he's screaming in pain on the ground, but Oliver was totally digging it. He made him feel a lot better. Like he was like, okay, all right,
Like,
I'll survive this.
What I thought
I'll
it was gonna be was that you were like, I wanted to teach him a lesson, so I put him back out there with the Yellow Jackets, and I said, you have to overcome your enemy.
Next time you run, dingus.
Yeah. You either run or you fight.
Jackets a run.
Yeah.
Okay, come on.
And
Well,
it just
I'll
made me
tell ya.
laugh. Like, there you go. So there's how my children. I mean, you don't eat Yellow Jackets. That I know that was a weird segue of eating insects, but don't eat them. But
Yeah,
also
not
don't die
delicious.
of them.
Not delicious. Like all this makes me like not want to, go outside and kind of just wish the outside could come to me.
Right.
Almost in a virtual setting.
I tell you, you know what would be the best alone scenario if we were going to be on the show alone is if rather than actually being in the great outdoors, we were on a virtual set like what we're going to be talking about in today's episode.
Yeah, I'd still lose.
Segway. Oh,
Yeah, you will still lose. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do a virtual alone Okie show scenario, and Nick will somehow, even in a virtual reality, basically a virtual room, he will die.
I'll call the pizza guy. Be like,
Will
you
not
have to
survive.
You have to come all dressed in grain.
Yeah.
Just
Just a piece of pizza
over.
floats over to
a
you.
wild pizza.
Wow. I foraged for it. It came out with
What's
cheese
in
and
here?
pepperoni and all.
Wait.
No.
Brian, I have a question. What are virtual screens?
Well, you mean virtual sets?
Yeah, that.
Virtual screen sets. We're all confused.
I know just the guy to talk to answer that question.
Who?
Well, let's go to our conversation with today's special guest, Mr. Ryan Bellgardt from Boiling Point Media. So Ryan Bellgardt, welcome back to the show I don't even know how many times you've been on the show at this point.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, hey, my pleasure. Anytime. I'm always excited when you give me a shout and ask me to talk to you guys. And I think this one will be pretty interesting. A lot of crazy stuff's happening. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to think of the last time that we had you on the show. I think you came on whenever we were doing Dead Center coverage. So I know that quite a bit's happened over at Boiling Point over the last couple of years. So catch us up. Give us the old overview. What's going on with Boiling Point?
Well, it's more of the same, but just kind of bigger and better. We've been doing a lot of visual effects stuff and producing films and working on different films, especially in post-production and visual effects. And we got into sort of during the pandemic and the quarantine and things like that. We've stayed really busy because fortunately a lot of our projects were kind of in heavy post-production. So, that's a lot of stuff that you can sort of do in a cave, so it kind of worked out. But I spent some time diving into virtual production, and we built a green screen virtual production stage at Bowling Point, and got it all kind of put together and working. And then 2 projects that we've recently shot on there are in post-production now, and one of them's called Ghoster, which is the next movie that I directed. And then it's kind of like Casper is the easiest way to say it. It's like a little ghost movie, family movie. And then we did another movie directed by Steve Shimmick, who did some local stuff here. He did The Adventures of Airy, the robot movie we worked on.
Oh yeah.
He did Joey and Ella, which was a kangaroo movie that we did the kangaroo effects on. But he's done a movie called The Guardians of Time, and he went really crazy with this. And we shot about 80% of that film on our green screen virtual production stage at Bowling Point, which was a little scary, but we managed to do it. And my biggest fear was that we would sort of, show that edit to the producers, and they'd say, "Oh, this tech just isn't going to work. We can't do it."
Yeah.
And but they were actually, all of us were kind of pleasantly with how cool it actually is, because when it shines, it really shines. It gives us the ability to put actors in locations that otherwise not possible in the films that we were doing before. For example, in Guardians of Time, they go to sort of like Egyptian ruins, in the desert with giant, statues and pyramids and things. And, when you watch it back, you're like, that's pretty convincing. That looks pretty cool, and the way that we're doing it is in using Unreal Engine. So that's what's kind of crazy, is that the technology has gotten so powerful, and graphics cards and video game engines are so powerful now, they can render really pretty photorealistic looking stuff in real time. Mm-hmm. And what that allows us to do as filmmakers is we can, shooting on a green screen and replacing the background is nothing new. People have been doing that for a long time. We've been doing that for a long time. But the difference now is that I can shoot the actors like they're on an actual set. They're in a green screen space, or we'll call it a volume in virtual production. And we can move the camera freely, 360 degrees. We can point it up to the sky and all around, even behind us. And anything that's on that green screen will be set inside and placed inside this virtual world and locked down in there. So what's really cool about that is I can move my camera any way I want to, move them around, and I can look on a monitor in real time and see that they're, in Egypt or on the moon or in Paris or wherever it is that we want to put them in our virtual stage. So that, the biggest, I think, thing that people might be familiar with that uses this technology is the show The Mandalorian, and we all kind of know that show.
Oh, yeah.
And
you mean that wasn't filmed in space?
Devastating.
Oh.
I remember watching. So I watched the first season of that and was in awe because I thought, how are they doing this? I know this.
Yeah.
I know that each episode of this isn't $100 million. So how in the world are they, putting these characters in these locations that look incredible? Like, Tatooine looked like it was completely recreated, and Mos Eisley in those locations. I'm like, how are they, doing this? And so I saw the behind the scenes, and they're using the virtual production, but they're using it differently. They're using LED walls instead of green screens. So
right.
Imagine you see giant billboards that are LED screens and things like that. Well, people use that same kind of idea to build a 270 degrees semicircle that's behind the person, and then you can project on that screen. It's funny because it kind of is like the old rear projection techniques, but what's different about this is that it's, the video game engine is live, playing the background on the screen, and then you can film the actor in front of that screen. And what's super cool about that is that the reflections of that environment, that's the cool thing about Mandalorian, is his suit is, stainless steel or whatever.
Yeah.
So all those reflections and all that lighting, that would be impossible to film him on a green screen because, it's reflecting all the green. So instead, he's reflecting the actual environment that's actually around him, which is just a volume of LED walls that is moving in conjunction again with their cameras, to have all the parallax shifting and the perspective shifting and everything that makes it look like they're inside this game world. And again, the game world, you guys know, I'm sure if you play modern video games, you can see the cinematics and the cutscenes, and you're like, that looks like a film,
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
So that's the cool tech, and what's really neat is that it's accessible to anybody. You could download Unreal Engine and start to learn it yourself.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but and for free, especially if you're using it for film. But I will say, to get it all work, on a stage you're still going to need the cameras and lights and all those things too. But Brian, I wish you could have been there. And next time, we do one. I'd love for you to stop by and kind of see it, because this is something it's something you need to see. It's something that you need to see.
So what you're saying is we need an Okie show tour inside.
Yes.
On location.
Inside the studio, on location.
I would love that.
I would love to do that. That would be such a fun little extra thing to do.
Yeah. That'd be so cool. And just and to see how you're describing it, and then be able to actually that, it would be awesome. Man, it sounds so cool.
Well, yeah, the biggest thing is imagine being able to look into a monitor, the director being able to look into a monitor, which they usually do at Video Village, right? I mean, you're usually looking through the camera and seeing what the camera sees.
Seems about right.
But this time, you're able to see the actors in that environment, that virtual world.
Wow.
And that's really helpful. It's helpful for the actors. It's helpful for the DP to match lighting. It's helpful for everyone to, I was able to say okay, look up in that corner. There's a giant statue that's about to attack you, and then they would look over on the screen and see where they're supposed to be looking, and kind of have a representation of what that giant statue is going to be.
Yeah.
Now, here's something about LED walls, right? It's like if you're going to project your scene or your whatever you're doing on your LED wall, it has to be sort of like finished, right? It's like it's got to be ready to go. So you've got to do a ton of post-production in pre-production because
that's true. Yeah, because
wow, yeah,
the old post-pre.
Yeah,
post-pre.
And so your timeline of when you're, if you're thinking about doing a project with this tech, you got to think about moving your actual shooting timeline down because you're going to need a lot of time to get those environments prepped and ready to go. And what's so cool is that you can do, since it's a video game, you can do lots of cool stuff. So imagine being able to have animated characters that you could interact with. Imagine being able to have somebody in a motion capture suit off to the side that could act out a character, and then you could see them through the screen acting with you, and you could record their performance and just say, that's good,
Wow.
That kind of thing is totally within reach and doable. But I think that while the idea of doing it all in camera like that is kind of exciting and makes people think, oh, we can save a lot of time and money, the reality is, at least on my level of doing this, is that, we're visual effects guys, we're post-production guys. We understand that things can be fixed in post, and improved quite a bit. So, when we did when we shot our scenes for Ghoster, we really didn't know what we were doing very much. So we sort of rushed our Unreal Engine scenes and our backgrounds, and they didn't look very good. And I just knew, well, you know what, later, I'm going to figure this out so that later I can replace them. And that's the cool thing about it, is that I can go in, since it's all shot on green screen, I can go in and just replace my backgrounds with something completely different. And it records all the same data. The camera data, the camera movement data is recorded along with the green screen footage in the camera. So it's really easy to change things, to improve things. And that's kind of what we're doing now, is going back on Ghoster. About 15 minutes of the movie of Ghoster was shot on the virtual production stage.
Yeah.
And, it's probably around 200 or so shots that, I'm going back and sort of replacing all the backgrounds and making it look better now that I have a little bit of time to do it. So, and I think I've learned so much about it that when we did Guardians of Time, we got a little bit better at it and made, it kind of made more sense. And I think moving forward, I have a much better grasp on how I would, potentially pitch this to a filmmaker or a client who wants to use this tech for their films coming up. But it's awesome, man, and definitely the future of filmmaking in a lot of ways. It's a tool. I keep saying it's not going to replace. You're not going to be able to replace shooting out in a real location. There's just things that it can't do as well.
Right.
But there are things that it can do incredibly well. Like taking you to a fantasy world or outer space or on the moon or places that are just too hard to procure here or build here. So yeah, it's cool. And I think you're going to see a lot of these places popping up, and people are going to start building. I know there's already, I think, one in Oklahoma, up in Tulsa, where they've got a LED volume up there.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And in Dallas, I know they've got a big one in Dallas. I was really fortunate because I got to go to the Airy Camera headquarters in Burbank, because we're actually talking with different people on a state level and government level and educational level about Boiling Point potentially getting into this on a bigger scale. And we had that opportunity to go to Airy Camera in LA and see their LED wall volume and see it in person and see how they set it up and things. And I got there and I was like, yeah, that's a big screen. That's a really big screen.
that's legit.
Yeah,
I'm impressed.
Yeah. But they and it was cool. It was very cool. It was very cool. I was a kid in the candy store there, trust me. But
man,
they had some photographs of a stage that they've recently built in Berlin for a Netflix show that was just mind-boggling. It was 270 degrees of virtual LED walls, huge, and it was big enough. It's so huge, it was big enough that in the middle of it they had built a pirate ship. So there was a pirate ship like deck in it.
Whoa!
Top deck of a pirate ship. And it was so cool because they had a turntable on the ground and they were able to rotate the ground. So if they needed to change, like, that's kind of one of the things about these things is that, you know, if you're going to build a little set like that, like, you want to be able to be not limited. So you want to be able to flip your axis or whatever, you know, and like you would in real life. But they solve that by building a giant turntable that they just rotate their entire set around when they need to. It's crazy.
So like they don't even have to move the cameras; they just move the set.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's crazy.
Exactly.
That is so cool.
And
I feel like filming, for some reason my head is going to like filming musicals that like stage shows that don't always translate from stage to musical very well. Like this would help with that. That'd be so cool to be like live on a turntable while your atmosphere is the cool sets that you could really
yeah.
like.
Well, so you're thinking of like a live application for the tech.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
You're welcome, Brian.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Hear that, Broadway? We just freaking revolutionized you guys.
All our Broadway viewers are taking notes right now.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. If they, I think that it's really cool to have ideas like that. I mean, it is sort of the very beginnings of this, especially trickling down to people that are not, you know, I don't know. I guess the best way to say it is like budgets that can afford. They can't afford the $10 million, the $15 million setups. Like the technology is becoming more available for guys like us who are working on lower budgets to be able to access this at some level. And so that's what's kind of exciting about it.
Wow. Cool. Golly, that's so cool. I have so many questions about these virtual sets because like you have the LED ones, the gigantic LEDs where you can actually see without the help of a monitor, you can actually see the set that is virtual.
And what you're filming and what you film is what you get. I mean, it's that's what it is. Right.
Mm-hmm. And then you have the green screen virtual sets, which how much, whenever you're creating the sets, how much of that is just CGI visual effect that you've built in a computer, and how much of that is maybe compiled off of like second unit shots and stuff? Or is that even a thing?
No, it's all in the computer. So the entire set's in the computer. Now you could build practical elements to go onto your set. So for example, in Guardians of Time, there's a sort of an evil sorceress who's got a table full of little, you know, beakers and spell potion things, and you know, all that stuff was real, and she's interacting with it. And so, like, you know, you could have that, or you could have like, you could put fake rocks in a cave, for example, or you could put the ground of a beach down on the ground and be on the beach. There's a lot of stuff that you could do that's sort of like practical. You know, like the more of it that's practical, the more realistic it'll look. You know, but you can also do. I mean, I think that for our films, these two that we're working on during these virtual production scenes in the movie, you'll find that like it's probably 95% is all the digital stuff, and then 5% would be the actors or the props or the things they're interacting with that are real. Wow. So yeah, it's all you know, with Unreal Engine. It's just you know, it's cool because it's like any other 3D software that there's just a blank canvas that you start with, and then you can start to build like Legos. You know, you can either build it from scratch in another program and import it, but what's cool is that Unreal Engine has got a marketplace that you can buy work that people have already done. You know, so for maybe let's say $200, you could buy like a redwood forest.
Oh my God!
That looks like the real redwood forest. You know, so that's the kind of stuff that we did on Guardians of Time, is that they wanted to have a lot of locations in their movie, and so it's really cool because in the morning we're shooting in the redwood forest, and then mid-morning we'd be shooting in the burning redwood forest, which was another set. It's like all on fire and stuff, you know. And then and then that night we're shooting in the sorcerer's castle, and then, you know, later on before the end of the day we're shooting in Egypt, and it's all happening right there on our stage. And just with a few clicks of the button, we've completely changed our locations. And you know, it's really cool because when you dive deeper into the tech, you could imagine having all your lighting, Brian, up on trusses, and it automatically adjusts with the lighting of the Unreal scene. You know, so cool. Imagine that you've got a bunch of Aries or something hanging up, and through DMX, you know, if the sun goes across the sky, those lights will change with that. Or if there's a fire in your Unreal scene, if there's a fire flickering from a torch, your real lights can flicker like that fire. too.
Well, and that's what I was just wondering was like with the LED Unreal Engine virtual sets, like the lighting stuff is kind of built into the cake, but like with this green screen virtual sets, how do you deal with the green spillover landing on the actors when they have to be completely immersed in that green?
Oh, I mean, that's one of the big problems of what we do. Is dealing with that. I mean, probably the best thing to do would be to have a big enough stage where you can be far enough away from your green walls that it doesn't spill on you. But when you're dealing with what we have, which is a stage that's not quite as big, you just deal with that the way you would any time you're dealing with green screen. I mean, there's tools, there's post-production tools that help deal with it. And so when you're pulling your key later on in After Effects, whatever you're using, I mean, there's ways to deal with things like green spill and the software for that has even gotten so much better that you can get away with a little. But I mean, you want to make sure that if you're building a green screen cyclorama for this, like, yes, you could do it. Like you could like hang a green sheet on your wall and do this,
Wow.
But also you're going to have the same problems that you would have anytime you would hang a green sheet on the wall with uneven shadows and stuff that makes green screens hard to key out. So we took the time to build and light properly our green screen stage so that it gave us the best chance of being able to pull good green screens. But yeah, I mean, because here's the thing, right? Like say we're doing a night scene, then this is the kind of stuff we come across. So we'd be doing a night scene and we would have this nice, cool blue moonlight coming into the scene, and they're out in the meadow or something. And the DP would start to change the lights to be very cool and blue to match that. And I'd be like, guys, that's not going to work because, we're basically cooling down all of our actors against this green background, and it's going to make them essentially turn green, or too green to be able to pull clean keys out. So I kind of had to do a little bit of convincing sometimes. And I'm like, just light them neutrally. Like, don't worry about the color of them. Just light them neutrally so that, you can match the shadows and the harshness of the light and the shading, but we're not trying to match, a cool color here or a green. I think one time they were doing like some magic effects and shining like green lights on them. And I was like, that's not really going to work, because you're turning them green.
You just got to be the consistent bearer of bad news.
Yeah. Well,
too green, guys. Too
so
green.
all that setup. No, take it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it took a little trial and error to understand things like that. Like we would periodically kind of stop, or at the end of the shoot, we would load in some footage and be like, hey guys, like here's some of that footage we shot today, and here's how it's keying out, here's how it's working. We might be pushing this a little too, when we do nighttime shots and we're pushing the lighting cool, we might want to warm it up because it's harder to key out and stuff like that. I mean, it's just stuff that you don't really think about until you start doing it. But there's lots of challenges for sure. But the reward's cool because you're pushing the envelope a little bit on what's possible with the movies and the budgets that we work with. And my hope is that when someone sees these movies, they're transported into this world, and they're seeing things, and they're seeing locations, and they're seeing scenes that just weren't possible for us to do before. And that's really the fun part of it for me.
Say you've got a project that you're filming tomorrow, but what's that? There's construction that started across the street next to the overpopulated dog kennel? If only there was a better, more controlled environment to shoot your movie at. A magical place where the location owner doesn't change their mind last minute and send you scrambling to find a new spot to shoot your high school-themed alien invasion murder mystery. Where is this land of milk and honey and craft services? Green Pasture Studio in Oklahoma City is a 12-acre campus boasting over 8,000 square feet of Hollywood-grade soundstage, plus standing sets including a high school, police station, hospital, bar, a full house, and a wooded backlot. The campus has everything a filmmaker might need to elevate their production, so why not build your dream at Oklahoma's premier soundstage? You can learn more at greenpasturesstudio.com. Green Pasture Studios, so much more convenient than your ex-girlfriend's dad's house. Hey there, film folks. If you're trying to get your project made, I gotta tell you about my friends over at ngpfilm.com. If you are in the state of Oklahoma and you need equipment to get your project made, you need to go to NGP. They've got camera equipment, grip and electric equipment, sound equipment, production gear, stuff for your locations, pretty much everything. And if they don't have it, they're going to help you find it. Their customer service and support is out of this world. Literally, if you're in the middle of your day and you need extra gear, they will come to where you are and drop the stuff off. Or they have a super convenient night pickup and drop off. So you can call them, they'll leave it in these really cool little bins with a code that they give you, and then you show up and you put the code in, and then voila, you got the gear. And then when you're done with the gear, you come back, you leave it in the drop off, you put the lock back on, and then shazam, your day's over at 3 in the morning. ngpfilm.com is pretty much the best thing Oklahoma Film has to offer. If you have any rentals, anything that you need, check them out, ngpfilm.com. So like with the green screen virtual sets, like that just seems like such a different animal. Like, do you have to do a lot of rotoscoping? And for the listening audience, rotoscoping is where you're, well, actually, Ryan, why don't you tell us what rotoscoping is? You probably have a better definition.
For the listening audience and Kelly and I.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't on the set of Mandalorian, but I actually heard that they actually did do a lot of rotoscoping, even when they shot against the LED wall. And rotoscoping is essentially when you cut the image out, the foreground image, like most likely an actor, you cut them out, like with Photoshopping, you cut somebody out of a picture, you know, you cut them out every single frame. So frame by frame by frame by frame, you're cutting them out so that you're able to separate the foreground from the background.
Yeah. It's an astronomical amount of work.
That's like claymation. I mean, that's literally like motion by motion. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it is one of the more tedious things to do, but that's why you shoot on a green screen, because with a green screen you can separate the foreground from the background by just simply telling the computer to remove the green. You know? So that's you know, it doesn't really work if you're wearing green, or you know, but so you don't wear green. But if you're not wearing green and there's not lots of green light spilling on you, then it's pretty easy for the computer to just say, oh, I'm going to take the green away, and then I can composite the foreground person or whatever is on the green screen footage onto a background. So there's not really any rotoscoping involved. And that's the beauty of it, Brian, is that we get to have all these layers separated. Yeah. So, and one thing you can do in green screen that you can't do with LED wall is actually put actors in the sort of mid-ground of scenes. So I could put CG elements in front of them, which is really crazy. So like you could have people walking around stuff. You could have them walking behind trees. Like all kinds of stuff that's just like when you look at the monitor, you're like, how's that even happening? But yeah, you could do that kind of thing where you're layering CGI objects on top of the people in the scene, and it's really cool. It's really cool because it really helps with the immersive, you know, kind of nature. And again, you know, with me being a post-production guy and a visual effects guy, I like having that control of being able to go back later and taking that green screen footage, taking that background, changing it, adding foreground stuff, adding the magical effects or the creatures or whatever to the scene, and having all that control is a dream for a guy who likes to have that control in post-production.
Yeah. I am a god.
You can really change the entire movie of just like, hey, I know it's a Western, but I put us on the moon.
Exactly. You could do it. You say that, Brian, and I kind of like, that's what turned me on to visual effects. You know, in the first place was just, you know, being able to open a piece of software. I remember watching, you know, something like The Lord of the Rings and seeing Gollum. Yeah. And I was so impressed by that. And I said, how do they do that? And so I found out that they used a program called Autodesk Maya to do a lot of that. So I started learning it, and I opened it up and I was just like, man, this is so cool, because if I learn how to do this, and you know, and I know it will be easy, but if I can learn how to do this, I can literally create anything I can imagine.
That's so cool.
That was the real, you know, maybe going back as far as Jurassic Park and learning about, you know, CGI in movies. That was the real attraction for me, was that you get this sandbox where it's like, I can do anything here. And if I can dream up this story, and I'm not going to say that I can make it as good as Star Wars or Avatar or Jurassic Park, but I can try, and I can learn a lot, you know, and it's served us well. But Unreal Engine to me is even a step beyond, where you really are playing in, you know, originally something that was made for video games, but you know, with the tech that it is now, looking as good as it does, you can translate this over into a cinematic way and use it for films. And, you know, like I said, just, you know, almost be anywhere you want to be, or can imagine. And you can buy those backgrounds too. You don't have to make them from scratch. That would be that'd be really time consuming. It'd be really time consuming, to go in and like, model a redwood forest and texture it and make it look realistic and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, you go buy assets, but it's cool because you have like, it's like I said, it's like a Lego set. So I could go into that forest and take trees out and add a log cabin and, add a pond or,
so cool.
It's like a rich, like gazillionaire's dream. Just like, I want to buy the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
Get it.
We did that. We did it. We did a little office scene. The very first scene we did was an office scene where a guy's talking in an office on the phone. And we hadn't even planned on having, in the original script, he's just a voice on the other line, but we were like, hey, let's just try this out and see if it works. And I downloaded a little office, and it was interesting because the office that I downloaded off the marketplace had a background out the window of a city that was just like, you can imagine, it was just like a picture of a city on a sphere, right? So like it was out there and you could see it, and it looked kind of like a city, and it kind of worked when you move through there. But I was like, it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look real enough. So I went on the marketplace and just searched around, and for like, it was like $20. I downloaded like a photorealistic looking New York City skyline that was like huge. It was huge. It was like,
wow.
Like I could go down into the streets and around the corner.
Oh, wow.
But all I used it for was just to place it back outside the window of this.
Yeah.
And it looked amazing. It looked so much more realistic because I could change the time of day and move the shadows around in the sun, and it looked really cool. So that's kind of like the fun flexibility you have to, like, you're almost playing God, saying like, I don't want to be in New York City. I want to be in Thailand, and then you have like none of the limitations of fighting against the sun, fighting the weather,
right? All
those things. Like it's really weird to be like, on a sunset, like, like we're on a sunset golden hour type of situation all day long.
Yeah. Does it make you wish we would have had this during Jurassic Games whenever we were in the Little Sahara?
Yeah. I mean, I'll never forget the stuff that we did there, and I'm sure we'll go back. I mean, like I said, there's advantages to being in the real place, but sure, man. I mean, I try not to live in the past, Brian, but I'm telling you that, moving forward, like the ideas are flowing, to like, what can we do with this, when we make our future projects, if we ever made a sequel or whatever, like what, the possibilities just expanded a lot by what's possible.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
How much does it, like on a budgetary level, like obviously you have access to all these crazy locations and stuff. How much does that help with your budget of getting a movie produced?
Well, I think that it's a trade-off. I like at first you're thinking, maybe there's some money to be saved, and there might be in some ways, but just imagine, if you're doing it, and not every movie lends itself to this kind of thing. So, Guardians of Time does, and Ghoster does, because the places they go are kind of fantasy places, so if you step through a mirror and you're in another world, then you can kind of forgive it if it looks a little bit, I don't know what the word is, like not video gamey, but just like not like what you're used to seeing, like a little bit surreal or something.
Right. Yeah.
If you're trying to pass it off for completely photorealistic, like, like you're doing a crime drama and they go to the bank or something, you're trying to pull out. I mean, I think you'd have to work a little bit harder to get it to be like, it's not impossible. And we see it happen a lot, but I think you need to be careful that you do it the right way. And there's certain things that it's really good for. And like I said at the beginning, there's certain things that can really shine on. And there's certain things where you're kind of like, it doesn't look super real, does it?
Right.
So I think
it
that you
looks
have to be careful.
Unreal.
Exactly. but to answer your question, I mean, like, if the money that you would save on, moving an entire company down to, staying in a bunch of hotels in the middle of nowhere, or, the location fees or whatever, permits and things like that. Yeah. I mean, I think it kind of evens out. I think that if you're going to do this for one of your films, you definitely need to be thinking about it from the beginning, and just make sure you're allocating budget correctly for, the time that it takes, because you might not be taking into account, how much work goes into getting everything ready for your shoot on the green screen. And you might not be happy, Brian, if you're like, I want to do a show in a spaceship.
He's never happy.
Well, and if I'm like, if I only have a day or two to get you your spaceship scene, it might just be something I have to find, and you're like, well, that's not exactly what I wanted. So, if I want to customize that, then you're looking at time and money and stuff like that. So, it just kind of, I wouldn't say it's something that, oh wow, now I can make my movies for half price. It's not really like that. It's a whole different. It's just a different way to do it. And I always think of this stuff as like tools in a tool bag. It's like now, if you came to me and said, I want to make a spaceship movie, I could say, okay, here's options. Here's an option. You can do this. You can we can build a spaceship set, or we can try virtual production or whatever, and I can show you the different examples of outcomes and what we can try to achieve. And then you as the producer make the decision on which way you want to go.
Yeah. Wow.
So how is the virtual craft service food? That's solid. They figured that out yet?
It's like the Matrix. Listen, I know that it's actually pizza, but on the monitor, it's a freaking filet mignon. So
it's like the scene in Hook when they imagine the food and then you throw it, but it's real. Yeah, that's all that is.
No, we hand out cardboard pizza slices.
The amount you save on food expenses is incredible.
Everything's just green, and you like just hold it up, and it becomes whatever you want.
Yeah, I think you guys could probably come up with some really funny skits to take advantage of the craziness of what can be done with the tech.
Oh, dude, that would be so fun. Don't even unlock that Pandora's box. So I'm going to put on my sound guy hat now, and because I remember this was my first thought whenever I saw the volume for Mandalorian was, boy, that's got to sound really boxy. Like there's only so much that you can do on the sound side of things. So how do you handle, I know that you're not officially a sound guy, but like in your experience with these big green screen sets and all that, how do you work around the sound, the issues? You're shooting in a forest and yet it sounds like you're on a lot.
Well, I mean, like like just doing the work that I've done in post, and I've done a lot of sound work in post, like I want the cleanest signal I can get. So I'm okay with it. Of course we don't want our stage to sound extra boxy or echoey or anything, but I don't know. I don't think it's an issue. As a matter of fact, I feel like it's an advantage. Shooting out in the woods, like it's not necessarily an echoey kind of sound. It's still pretty dead, So, and I think that we just want a nice, what I like there about shooting on stage is just the control of the environment. You're still dealing with sometimes a train going by or a plane going by, but at the end of the day, I like the idea that like everything I've shot there, I know I got really clean, so I could go back in later, and if I have to add some kind of effect that makes them sound like they're in the subway or whatever, that's great and easy. But I'm not dealing with actual subway cars coming by every 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's no lie.
Yeah,
well,
Brian, it sounds like it might eliminate some of the frustrations.
Right, yeah.
Pause,
well, and it is interesting the technology on the sound side of things. Like we have Isotope now, and with all the different audio softwares, like if you do have, for the listeners, if you're out there and you're wondering about this kind of stuff, like pay attention to the reverb of the room, and then look up Deverb, the plugins that you can put into your audio software, and you can actually pull the reverb out of your dialogue to make it nice and dead, clean it up, and then you can place it in the environment that matches the set. So you can have your ambient, like if you're shooting a scene on a virtual set that is a redwood forest, then you can get a bed of ambience and throw it underneath your dialogue, and then you try to match the EQ and the reverb of that environment, and that places those actors, from an audio standpoint, and places them in that set.
Yeah, and coming from an audio background myself, I always would just prefer that the audio is as clean as possible, and I can add to it, whatever I need to. So so yeah, I mean, I know that the guys that were running sound for the projects that we shot on were kind of they kind of they settled in with their cart and their mixer and their stuff and like didn't move it for 2 weeks, and they were just kind of like, well, this is kind of weird, I like it.
That sounds like a dream.
I know, and that's the other thing is like when we wrap, we just go home.
So, walk away every day, man.
Yeah. So I think there's some fun advantages. I mean, look, we're still sort of in the middle of this, and like I said, after when we filmed these projects, there was a time when all of us and the directors, producers, everybody was like, I don't know, this might not work, it might not be, but then you see it all together in the edit, and you're like, hey, I mean, this can work. It's fun about movies, right? Is that you start to like, if you looked at one shot by itself, you might think, well, that looks kind of like a video game or something. But then when you see it all strung together in a scene, and you understand that these characters went into a fantasy world, you can your brain does something weird, and it just like forgets it. And then you can't see anything else other than they're in the desert in Egypt or whatever, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of, it worked out. And you get lost into the story, and then you realize how cool is this that we get to tell this really ambitious story that we couldn't have done otherwise.
In the middle of Oklahoma. I love that. Well, and this is one thing that I've always admired about you, is that you're not afraid to try something new. And to me, you've always seemed like just a forever student. Like you're constantly pushing yourself to learn new things. And I think that that's a very, very admirable trait. Inspires me, and I hope it inspires our listeners to be willing to go out there and try something new.
Well, you're exactly right, Brian. And I feel that, I don't know, I'm probably not happy unless I'm pushing myself to learn something new and different on every project that I get to do. And I think that over the years, as you start getting older, and I'm like in my mid 40s now, and I look back and I'm like, man, I've been accumulating a lot of this stuff over like 20 years or whatever of doing it, and you sort of get to the point where you're like, no, I feel like I can kind of do this with some confidence, that I could solve whatever issue or problem or request that our clients might have, or the people that want to do these projects might have. And it makes me feel good about it, but that's not happening without what you're saying, like spending the time to learn and keep up with it. I mean, this technology changes daily, and Unreal Engine releases and they're like 2 versions ahead now of what I'm working on now, because I'm not changing now with all this. So like, but when I get a break and when I get a chance to, I'll upgrade all the software and play with all the new toys they have that I wish they would have had 6 months ago when we were doing, so
cool.
No, I'll give you an example. When we were filming Ghoster, which was the first project we tried to do this way, the original goal was to get all the visual effects in camera live. Like, that's it. Like, we're going to be in this in Ghoster, the kids go into sort of the best way to describe it is like a chamber of secrets type room from Harry Potter or something. Okay, so I built something that was okay and it worked, but the goal was to get it live in camera. And at the time when we were doing all of our testing, I had no way to record the camera's movement. So what that means is that I could film it and I could see my background moving, and I could record that image to an external recorder, and then have like my green screen keyed out live with my background, and I'd be like, that's it. That's what I got, and I can't separate it later. I can't do anything with it later. But I thought that's how we were going to have to do it. And then 3 days before we filmed, they had a software update that included the ability to be able to record the camera data. And that came with, and this is a different program. It's not Unreal Engine. It's another program we use called Ximetry, which allows Unreal Engine to talk to all of our hardware kind of in an easier way than if you just use Unreal Engine by itself. So this, it's so cool because like I was on months before, myself and other people are on the forums saying, hey, it would be really great if we could find a way to record the camera data that I'm doing here, because I'm moving my camera in a 3D environment, and somehow that data is being transmitted to Unreal Engine and I can see it moving. So why can't I record that?
Right.
And they're like, we're working on it, but it's kind of tricky. I was like, well, that'll be great when it does. Well, 3 days before we start to shoot Ghoster, they released the version that has that functionality. And I didn't even really I learned the real basics on how to use it. And I just started hitting record without really knowing what I was doing. I never able to test it or anything. And after, I was so glad I did, because after our shoot was over, Ghoster was 3 days on the virtual set. And after it was over, I went and tested it and plugged it all back together. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. I can actually replace the background later because it recorded all the camera tracking data, and I can just plug it all back together. And that happened 3 days before we were shooting, where otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do that. And I would have had to just commit to what we were getting on the monitor, which I'll tell you, if you look at it then and versus now, with the months I've had to learn more about it and refine it, it's night and day, huge difference. Wow. You know, so I'm really glad that happened. But you're right, the tech is changing all the time, and I probably am, you know, it's funny how in student mode I am now, but when I was at school, not at all.
Yeah. Isn't that the case with everybody? Like whenever we're in school, we're like, I've got this figured out. You walk on to 7 the first time and you're like, I know nothing.
Can I change the sun and everything? No, then I don't care about math.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I just didn't care at school. I didn't care. And but I'm the kind of guy that when I found something I cared about, I dove into it like, you know, 100%. So I feel bad a little bit, but you know, you can't, like I said earlier, you can't live in the past, right?
That's right. Eyes forward.
That's right.
You heard it here, kids. Don't care about school. Yeah, that's the message.
Oh man. Well, what advice would you give to the young filmmaker that's interested in this kind of thing?
I mean, you know, Unreal Engine is free to download and start learning and playing with, and you can sort of, you know, there's also free versions of other 3D software like Blender or Maya and things that you can get your hands on. And again, like open your mind to the possibilities of other tools that you can learn to inspire you and extend your storytelling. You know, you don't like, and some people would disagree with me and not think that's cool, and that's totally fine. I mean, there are people that want to just take a camera and go make their film. That's great. For me personally, you know, growing up on things like Jurassic Park and Star Wars and the escapism of those kinds of movies, I was so fascinated with the idea that maybe I could add elements of those things into mine. And those are the kind of stories I wanted to tell. So I just like the idea that anyone can tell, you know, whatever story you want to. Those tools are out there. And don't worry about how good you are right now, or how, you know, don't worry about how good of a film you make or how good your CGI looks or your whatever you're doing, your animation or your model or whatever. Like that's really just advice across the board for anyone who's making movies. Like, you know, you're going to have to make a lot of bad movies before you make a good one.
Never be afraid to fail.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm still in the, you know, on the uphill climb on that journey, you know. So I think that you just don't be afraid of that, because the only way to learn it is to do it. And you're gonna fail a bunch. That's totally fine, you know. And just know that it takes about the same amount of, you as a musician, Brian, could relate. It takes the same amount of, I think, discipline and practice that a musician, you know, would need to learn how to play an instrument. You know, like you think, oh, okay, I learned to play the guitar. What kind of effort did it take for me to learn how to play the guitar? Well, that's the same kind of effort you need to put into learning how to use CGI and graphics, and, you know, this being able to add this kind of stuff to your tool bag. But, you know, if you can figure it out, then it's worked well for us. And, you know, we're growing too, and looking for people that are interested in this field. And we work with schools and students and people that, you know, there's some really talented students out there from the programs locally that we're meeting and getting a chance to work with through, you know, internships and apprentice programs and things like that. And it's awesome to hire those kids and give them positions, you know, like entry-level positions on projects that have, you know, that actually go out, and it's like, hey, you know, Mom, I got to actually work on this robot or whatever. So it's kind of cool.
That's so cool.
And the people that work with us get to go, you know, they go on to do bigger and better things. And we had a girl named Caitlin that worked with us on Dinosaur World and a few of the Rufus and a few of the other projects. And she was a contractor that came in and worked with us for a few months. And then she left. And next thing you know, she's talking about how she animated some of the shark scenes from Suicide Squad. And,
What?
yeah, I know.
Dude.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like, I mean, we're getting, it makes me feel a little bit, I don't know. I feel kind of like Papa proud or something, you know, it's like, it's like, you came here and we hopefully showed you something that, when you, went on to be able to work on, this mega blockbuster that, hopefully something that you learned here translated. And I think that's really cool. So it's nice. It's kind of vindicating, to know that like, okay, maybe we're doing something.
Man.
Maybe sort of what we stumbled into a little bit accidentally are some of the ways that are helpful for people to be able to go pursue this. If they don't stay, we want to grow Oklahoma and Bowling Point, we want to be a big part of the growth of the film industry here. And we think we can be, and we want Oklahoma to grow into something that's just as big as anywhere else. And we'll look all around us at what's happening. And obviously it is. With the incredible, with the film rebate that's just been passed, and the gigantic projects that are going on with the big studios that are going in, like all those things are amazing, and hopefully just continue to bring opportunities to all the people here that want to be able to work here and not have to necessarily go to LA or Atlanta or New York to do this. And I think that's the super exciting thing, because I always, growing up kind of thinking, oh, I wonder what it'd be like to work in entertainment. I just never thought I'd be able to stay here and do that.
I know, right? I get to stay home and work. That's awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on the show again. It's good to have you back. You're one of my favorite guests to have on. Remind people where we can reach out and see some of the work that you've done.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you search for my name on Amazon, I think most of the films that we've done are on Amazon Prime. So you could find them there. And yeah, that's probably the easiest way. I'm not telling you to Google my name or whatever, but I mean, that's you'll find the films we've worked on that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit of, we've kind of moved lately the last few years into sort of the family friendly movies. And so there's some pretty cute ones. Joey and Ella one, we did all the kangaroo effects on, and it's a pretty cute kangaroo, little kid kind of kangaroo movie. And we just finished one up called C.I. Ape, which the trailer went kind of viral for that.
Cool.
And so it's fun. And so like, yeah, I feel really lucky that we get to work on these really fun projects. And yeah, like you said, it's all right here in Oklahoma. And I tell you, nobody's asking like, well, where this stuff's being made, they just, they just want it made,
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. And we can all be part of that, the growth that we all want to see here. And that's pretty exciting stuff.
So now we know what a virtual set is, not a virtual screen.
I'm sorry. I'm a fool. A virtual set is much better than a virtual screen because that does not exist.
She didn't understand the fancy terminology, like screen, like what? Like it's understandable.
Movie.
It's movie.
Camera.
I'm not gonna lie, like the whole thing is just so fascinating to me, and just like all the technology that we have is just so crazy. It's constantly it's evolving. I tell you, evolving.
Mm-hmm. Getting better and better.
And I'm not kidding about I truly do think it would be a really cool idea to use those virtual sets for like a live musical or something. Like, I just think I could see that being a cool thing to do. I don't know. But maybe that's basically what they did with like Into the Woods. I don't know how they did that. So
somebody needs to get on it.
Yeah.
In James Corden's backyard.
Yeah.
It would be cool. Like they have that, set up all the way around. So it's not just the backdrop that you're seeing. They're like, oh, what's happening over there?
Yeah. And you can have movement and the day and night. Like it would just be,
it'd be pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
So we started 2 episodes ago, Nick. We started a new segment called Brian and Kelly Relearn Improv. Because
right on.
We haven't really gotten to do much at all over the pandemic.
Nope.
So now you have been taking level 1 improv at OKC. Right?
Number one. Level 1.
So what kind of stuff are you learning in level 1?
Oh, speaking louder, it's not mumbling. Quit picking your nose on stage, Nicholas. No, we learned, like a lot of the basics of really just getting in, establishing characters, and making the silly, and just committing to whatever crap comes out of your mouth. Because it is, I've said before, improv is just incredibly humbling, because you get to go up there and you're like, oh yeah, I'm funny, I know my stuff. And then that moment when your mind goes blank is just the most like, hello darkness, my old friend moment ever. But no, yeah, we had our showcase a couple weeks ago. Went pretty good. We got a few chuckles, a few ha-has, which is the goal, I think. So yeah, it's just learning to crawl before we walk in the improv world.
Establishing the who, the what, and the why of the scene is something that I am constantly forgetting to do.
That's why you're relearning, though.
That's why we're relearning. So this is a segment that we're now calling Brian, Kelly, and Nick Relearn Improv.
I'm in the sequel. Yes.
Yay!
So
I thought of a game we could play if you're interested.
Okay.
We could do Half-Life. And we could take turns if you want to do two person scene. So because I feel like it'd probably be easiest so we can have someone to cut it off at the right amount of seconds. But we can do 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and then 5 seconds of just establishing a scene and the who, what, the where, and then cut it down to 15 seconds and try to condense the basic idea of what you did in the first one into 15 seconds and then into 5.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Cool.
Pretty typical. Basic. That's like a good, I don't know, I remember playing that with Take One a few times. We'd do that like kind of like Fractured Fairy Tales or whatever, but yeah,
I like it.
So it's is it like we do is it just a whole scene, or is this like we take from like a basic thing, like we retell Cinderella or something? Or
we can do either way, but I think for now we should just do some establishing scenes, just work on the establishing scenes and create them and give those things. And then try to, and you can, 30 seconds is a little bit longer, so you can kind of have some fun details and then try to condense it, but get the funny parts. Cause that's like part of finding the game that we were talking about with Brian, like finding the game of it is noticing those funny oddities that you want to shove into your 5 seconds. Cause that was a funny little thing you want to get in there, but you don't have to do that. You just want to get the feeling, the heart of the scene. So I think that if we took some suggestions, maybe like for just a location or like a relationship, and start there and just do a real basic scene and not get too flashy with it, because you get a little nervous cutting down the time.
Yeah, no, I'm nervous right now. I'm terrified.
Good. That's how I want you, Nick.
Even more so than when I talk to you guys.
Didn't everyone tell you the first rule of improv is to be afraid?
No, they told me it was don't talk about improv. And then they punched me in the face. I don't know if that was an improv person or they were just stealing my wallet, but either way,
weird improv class.
I was yes-anding. Like
give me your money.
Yes, and my watch. And then he did not play along.
So for a location, let's choose a location from our conversation with Mr. Bellgardt. Let's go
Redwood Forest.
Yeah, Redwood Forest.
Redwood Forest. All right, Nick, do you want to try it with Brian and I'll like conduct for all time it, or do you want to?
So
what do you say?
You're just gonna set your.
I'm gonna give you a minute, and I'll kind of like, I'll maybe like give you like a little 5 just to wrap it up, so I won't just cut you off at the minute, but then I will cut you off at 30 seconds and 15 and 5.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Pull up my little timers. All right.
Okay.
Redwood Forest in 3, 2, 1.
Excuse me, Mr. Bear, would you mind coming out of your den? I've actually foraged some food that I wanted to gift to you. as a peace offering.
Hey man, I gave it the office. I don't, the sign says no solicitors. I'm kind of busy back here, like, chilling. I appreciate you guys, but you guys in all your reality show contests, always come and kind of just mess up my house. So, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Well, here's the thing. I'm actually, this is a reality show, but it's alone. So like literally if I,
oh, you're lonely?
a little bit. And the fact that we're having this conversation is actually pretty nice. Cause
You want to hang? I got foosball table.
You have foosball? Do you have any food? Cause I foraged this to make peace with you.
No, I was just kind of planning on eating you eventually, and I still might, but like I wanted to try this foosball table.
Insane.
Okay.
So we'll do a minute.
Okay.
But that was good. I had to let it go. That was fun.
Yeah, that was 2 minutes. Okay,
that was 1 minute. That was one minute.
Oh, that was only 1 minute.
That was 1 minute. But I just when you start getting more, it gets like more complex to
crap.
So
yeah. Okay. So now
what was the who?
It was
a lone contestant
and a bear.
The what was I was trying to make peace with the local bear.
And the bear did not want to be disturbed.
And you were at his cave, right?
And I was at his cave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Learning improv.
And you foraged some food. You had foraged some things.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is only 30 seconds.
30 seconds. I'm going to cut you off. Yep.
Ooh, okay. All right.
All right.
We're essentially doing the same scene, but just tighter.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
3,
2, 1.
Hello, Mr. Bear. I've foraged this food. I wanted to make a peace offering with you.
Dude, stop bothering me. You guys are crazy. You're nuts.
Well, I know that you're not. I see that you scratched on the TV on the tree over here. No reality TV shows, and this is a reality TV show, but it's alone. So like, it's just me. There's no crew.
Oh, you're alone?
I'm alone.
Are you lonely?
I'm a little lonely.
Okay, me too. Like, hey, I got a foosball table. You want to come check it out?
Well,
Scene.
Very nice.
Good job. You got it there. Yeah.
It helps if the first thing you do is just full of just crap of just like ums and
Yeah.
You can really shrink it down.
Yeah.
You can eliminate some of the natural pauses.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So
Okay,
let's
so now
try
we're
it for 15 seconds.
15 seconds. Okay. All right.
All right. In 3, 2, 1.
Hi, Mr. Bear.
What do you want?
Food for peace offerings.
Leave me alone.
I was wondering if we could make peace so
You're
that you won't eat
crazy.
me. Do you mind if I come in? I'm kind of lonely.
Oh yeah. Foosball. Come on.
Oh, cool.
Scene. Good job.
I was able to do that even though I had my own wild creature leap up onto my desk.
Oh.
You want to try to do it in 5 seconds?
Yeah, do it. 5 seconds on the dot.
All right.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Mr. Bear, take some food. I'm lonely.
Foosball?
Foosball.
That was 4 seconds and 4.29 seconds. So good job.
I think we established the who, what, and where.
I'm lonely.
I'm lonely.
That's the best way to start an improv.
Yeah.
I'm lonely.
You're establishing your state of being very quickly with that.
Yeah.
Like we understand your emotions.
Yeah. I like to tell, not show. I'm lonely.
I'm lonely. That would be me. I would be so lonely on a show like that. I'm already, even in a pandemic, the number of times I've told Aaron I'm lonely in a house full of 3 insane children with a dog and my husband and,
Yeah. What does he say to that? Is it a thanks?
I think it's, he just shakes his head and it can't,
Mhm.
Just lets me do my thing.
Yeah.
Be dramatic. Once I work through the cycle of realizing how dumb that actually is.
Well, I guess date night in the living room's canceled.
Kelly is lonely all the time just because she really likes people and likes to talk and likes to, but
thank God for
that's fine.
Zoom though, right?
Podcast? Are you plugging your podcast?
Do I what? Yeah.
Kelly is lonely all the time because she loves people and she loves to talk.
Yeah. It's a really long title, but
Should
it's
I
got
just
a lot of
start
heart.
a podcast and just be like, Kelly's lonely. You want to talk? And then just let people call me and talk to me and I just record it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be great.
You should.
That's literally what radio shows are. That's
right.
literally a radio.
The amount of
Except
time
you're just dishing out unsolicited relationship advice.
yeah.
Terrible. No,
Yeah.
mine should be random entomology advice or like,
Yeah.
I should just start I'll identify your bug, but I have to call my dad. It's not me doing it. I have to call a professional.
So your podcast is basically you're the operator of like,
Yeah.
oh, what bug do you want to learn about? Hold, please.
Hold
Yeah.
on.
And the title would be Bugging Dad.
There it-
Bugging Dad.
That's
That's
good.
like a sitcom.
Yeah.
That's good.
Bugging Dad.
Bugging Dad.
All right, so let's do another.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah, why? What do you keep calling me?
Stop.
So let's do a scene with Nick and Kelly. I'm gonna pimp you out.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so let's see. Let's get another location based on our conversation with Mr. Bellgardt.
From the audience.
Yes,
From the audience.
from the audience. See if anybody's watching on Facebook Live here.
I'm not hearing anything.
Let's see. Not getting any comments. We got viewers, but they're just not commenting. That's okay.
Guys, don't be shy.
Boo. Let's go with a spaceship.
Spaceship. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So a spaceship, and we're gonna do 1 minute in 3, 2, 1.
Xylor.
Yes.
I have come back from the planet Earth, and I have found this creature here in my hand.
Oh my! Don't let it touch your gloves. It cannot touch your gloves.
I
It will
did not put on
contaminate it.
gloves. You know I'm a risk taker. I did not want to mess with gloves, but this one just seemed so cute.
Oh, good. I will allow me to transport it to the doctor. I'm not the doctor. I'm the nurse.
May I not keep it as a pet?
No, we need to test it, and then we need to feed it.
But I have named it Theodore.
Well, Theodore needs to come with us immediately.
Okay, but can we give him some of his natural food so that he feels at home?
Absolutely.
Okay, here is a pumpkin spice latte, Theodore. I have come to love you in these brief period of time we've met. Now dissection with you.
Thank you. To the doctor.
And seed. That was good.
Was that a minute?
Yeah, that was a minute.
Yeah.
That was a solid scene. All right. So what was the who, what, and where?
Well, the nurse and the
Yes.
space alien who has come up from, I didn't name you. I should have named you. I guess I was named Xylor.
That's the thing I am absolutely terrible at is I will throw out a name and it won't even register to me. Names do not register.
Well, and that's my bad for not repeating it because then it would help me to remember it if I repeat it out loud too. But
I've always felt like rather than throwing out a name, like establishing the relationship is always to me,
Yeah.
it feels like that's better because like anybody saying
Yeah.
Tom doesn't really establish who you're talking to.
My friend,
Right.
Tom.
Tom.
Hello, best friend.
Tom, the serial killer in my room. Hi. How are you? Yeah, it's that quick. There was a lot. It was a lot of that in level 1 of like really just like because that's what we were working on. So it's just like really get in there. So it was
Hammering
a lot of
that
like,
in. Yeah.
hello, my sister who I've known all my life.
Well, yeah. I mean, getting it out right away makes you not have to think about it and get stalled out when you're trying to create it in the moment. I feel like that gets you can get in your head about it.
Oh, dude. Well, and I've straight up done several shows where like that's what I'll do to establish who this person is just like it can be something that you use as a joke of like, hello, my long lost father who I haven't seen since I was 2 years old and have zero memory of.
I feel like there's like that's something that you can kind of learn what you like to do and how you like to enter or offer a gift in a scene like that. Like I always liked to do and I feel like everyone has their own thing, but I always like to do usually when I'm in, like I'm a very physical person, it like in live improv, and that's so different than being on here. That's so weird for me. I will say I've had a hard transition and it kind of limits me, but I like to do weird physical positions and then let people endow me with like who or why but like just giving them that weird thing. It usually I just think it's fun to do that.
Physicality
first.
is the best.
Yeah,
gift,
like to give the physicality and then someone and then hopefully throw out the the name and the whatever the situation is, or some people I feel will even do like a sound, and from that sound you just know that is your Aunt Marge, like just there's I like that motivator, the little things like that. I kind of miss that from Zoom. I mean, we have sound, but
I miss live.
Yeah.
Okay, so we established the who, and what was the what?
Sorry.
The what of the scene was
I found a pet
that you cannot keep, and it needs to be dissected.
Yes.
Right.
And the where was spaceship.
On a spaceship.
We're on the spaceship.
And the when was, that time.
Today.
That time,
today.
Yeah. Okay, so let's try that again in 30 seconds. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Zambalam, I have found a creature. May I keep it?
Oh, no, you may not. And also, don't touch it with your gloves.
Too late.
No.
But I have also named it Theodore and become emotionally involved.
No, give it to me now. The doctor must see it now.
Well, what will happen to it?
It needs a pumpkin spice latte immediately, or it will die.
Oh, that was what it kept asking for, even when after I picked it up. Here you go. Goodbye,
Thank you.
Theodore. I will miss the memories.
And scene. That was good. That was like 2 seconds. That was 28 seconds, actually.
Oh, we had
that's
only
funny.
2 seconds. Okay, let's go back and add 2 seconds in really quick. Okay, ready?
Okay. All right.
And go. What's for lunch?
Cheese.
Scene. Cheese.
Good. Got it in there.
Yeah.
And there's my cheese joke that I made from the beginning of the episode that you'll have to understand.
Yeah.
Later.
Callback. That's a callback.
That's the sound you do in improv. Cheese. Okay.
Cheese. It's like your safe word. All right. So 15 seconds now. Here we go.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1.
Lama ding dong. I found this.
Yes. Oh my, that's scary. Don't let it touch your gloves. It's
Too late.
no.
It wants a pumpkin spice latte.
Feed it, and then the doctor must see it now. Dissection.
Bye.
Cheese for lunch?
Yeah.
And
Hell
see,
yeah.
that was good. So it's 15 seconds. Okay, now the real challenge. Can we do it in 5?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Here's a thing. Pumpkin spice
No,
latte.
don't let it touch your gloves. Oh yes, please, doctor.
And see. That was good. Yay.
I feel like even that 5 seconds, we got the whole thing. I found a
got it all
thing.
in there.
People really got the vibe of that one.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
if you liked what you heard and you'd like to be a part of it yourself,
I don't understand, but I respect. I don't understand.
Guys, we like you. It'll be fun. We laugh a lot.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny to us.
Be sure to check out patreon.com/Okie Show Show, okieshowshow.com, or youtube.com/Okie Show Show. Become a patron, help us out. We do all sorts of crazy stuff just like this. And we're probably going to be doing some more live stream improv stuff as we relearn all of this.
Are we?
I think we are.
We shall.
There.
We should.
Yes, and Nick.
Yes.
All right.
and.
All right.
And-
I kind of deviated. I snoozed during that part of lesson 1.
I
Yeah,
like to
lesson
say
1.
no.
Yeah. What if we say really?
Yeah.
Really?
Really? Really?
We're on the moon. Really?
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 Are we really on the moon?
And look, there's an ogre. Really?
Really?
Or
On the moon? That's not
Really?
even scientifically possible.
ogre? Okay. Like I'll do the improv scene. I'm just gonna have attitude with it.
You're
Yes.
just gonna have a bunch of attitude.
Ugh,
And
yeah, just I guess.
I can't. Okay.
Yeah. That's Nick's improv lesson for the day is don't yes and just I guess.
Okay. Okay, sure. That's my school of thought.
That's what
Okay.
we're going with. All right.
Okay.
You're a dragon.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next 2 weeks. Until then, bye.
Bye.
The Okie Show Show is a mostly harmless media podcast recorded at Tower Studios in Oklahoma City. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. If you're a business or industry professional that would like to advertise on the podcast, email info@okieshowshow.com. Rates starting as low as $25.